Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, Binodeshe yarbitzeni, Al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, Yanecheni b'maglei tzedek, L'man shemo, Gam ki elech begeit salmavet, Lo irara, ki ata imadi, Shivtecha umishantecha, Shivtecha umishantecha, Heima yenachamuni, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzoyrerai, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai, Veshavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim.
Mizmor leDavid. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green pastures, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul, guiding me in straight paths, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my foes. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Janet and Adam and Lindsay, and to the whole extended family, I want to offer my condolences to you. And the psalmist speaks of the valley of the shadow of death. And those of us that have walked that path know that it can be a dark and narrow place. Nonetheless, I want to assure you that the Hebrew Educational Alliance, this community, is here for you and to walk that path with you. And though you cannot see it now, the path of that valley eventually opens up to light and to joy and to healing once again. And we want to thank you for Craig's devotion to our community, and to know that we are here for you in the days and years ahead to keep his memory alive and to support you in your spiritual needs and in your healing in the years ahead. It's my privilege to be here with you today, and please know that I'm here for you in the future, along with Rabbi Dahlin, who will be leading the service this morning. So I invite Rabbi Dahlin forward now.
Gerachem Av al Banim Richem Adonai al Yirei Av Ki hu yada yitzreinu Zachur ki afar anachnu Enosh kechatzir yamav ketzitza sadeh Kein yatzitz Ki ruach avrabo ve'enenu lo yakirenu od mikomo V'chesed Adonai me'olam ve'adolam al Yirei Av V'tzidkato livnei vanim. As a father has compassion for his children, Adonai has compassion for those who show reverence. God remembers how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are but dust. The days of mortals are like grass. We flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them, and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But Adonai's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age unchanging. The psalmist writes, O Lord, who shall dwell in your sanctuary? Who shall abide upon your holy mountain? He who lives with integrity, does what is right, and speaks the truth in his heart, who has no slander upon his tongue, who does no evil to his fellow man. It's interesting to note that for the psalmist to be close to God, to dwell in God's sanctuary, a Jew must remain close to his fellow human beings, to treat others with the respect and dignity that they deserve. Craig Morrison cared deeply for the people in his life. He was a very kind-hearted, generous man. I've known him since my coming to Denver 28 years ago. I asked him several times to help the HEA to achieve its goals, and he never once said no. In talking with his family yesterday, they confirmed what I knew all through these years to be the case. Not only did he love his family and friends, they adored him. Our hearts go out to his loving family, to Janet, his wife, children, Adam and Lindsay and Colin, stepchildren, William, Benjamin, Nathaniel, grandchildren, Ophelia, Emerson, Lane, Kaylee, Chloe, and great-granddaughter, Araya, and Jody Pershing, and many cousins. We remember with great fondness Craig's parents, also so involved and engaged in this community, William and Ruth, and Craig's aunt and uncle, Essie Perlmutter and Jordan Perlmutter of blessed memory, and all the members of family, friends, and this community who knew Craig and who loved him. Craig was born in 1953 here in Denver to his parents, Bill and Ruth. He remained very close to his parents all through the years. I saw Craig just a few weeks ago, and I thanked him for all he's done for the synagogue all through the years, and he said to me, I do what I do in memory of my parents, always. The family were West Siders. They lived on Sheridan and then on Winona. He went to Carson, Hill, and George Washington. Craig was an excellent athlete, as many of you know, as a young man, and he played football for George Washington High School and later for the team at Pomona University. Craig loved sports his whole life and was never more proud to watch his son Adam excel in his sports. Craig coached youth sports when he could, and he was right there when Adam's team won a national championship in baseball. He promised to shave off his beard at home plate if Adam's team won. The team won, and he did. Craig finished college with a degree in business from the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley. Craig sustained lifelong friendships from his growing up, and among his best friends were his cousins. His friends were always welcomed into the home. His father, Bill, would whoop the kids in ping pong in the basement, and Ruth, who liked to keep a spotless home, would clean up immediately after the kids left, if not before. The system seemed to work okay. Craig was a great kid, and his childhood was a happy one. After college, Craig went into business. He worked construction as a teen and entered the real estate and hospitality business, owning bars and a family restaurant. He was an entrepreneur. He was a good one. He was skilled in his investments. That paid off very well. Craig was married to Sherry in 1981. They rejoiced in the births of their children, Adam and Lindsay. They were married until 2016. Craig adored his children and doted on them. He attended all their games and events. He always had time for them. He was so proud of their choices. He loved bringing Colin into the family and the grandchildren. If he wasn't with them, he was looking at their pictures on his phone. He met and fell in love with Janet, and the two of them were married in August 2020. They fell in love and had too short a time together. Janet became an instant member of the family and took care of Craig in his final illness. They had plenty of good times together, but of course, never enough. There's a lot more to say today, and you will now hear from Craig's family. On Sunday, Rabbi Grunwald will lead the service and perhaps invite other members of the family and friends to reflect on the many good times they spent, all of you spent, with Craig. For me, suffice to say that Craig was a very good man, and he will be sorely missed. May God bound up Craig in the bonds of eternal life. May he rest in peace. Amen. So members of his family and his friend Ian will speak in the next few minutes. I'll call upon Essie and Jay first, aunt and cousin, cousin Leland, and good friend and business partner Ian Garden Schwartz.
Thank you for coming. Craig would really appreciate this. He was a good friend. And please excuse me if I'm somewhat repetitious, because we all had some of the same nice things to say about our Craig. Monday, October 25th, was Craig's 69th birthday. I called to wish him well and, of course, to inquire about him and his loved ones. We had a pleasant talk. However, I was unaware that he was hospitalized. I was later informed from family members that Craig had been ill and indeed was in the hospital. Wednesday morning was a lovely autumn day. I began a rather routine agenda. My cell phone was buzzing multiple times. I was in a public place and my kids did not want to reveal shocking news. Each one asked over and over again if I was okay. They knew about my concern for Craig and his health issues. Another ring on the cell. And yes, if you are driving, pull over. I have terrible news. And my heart broke. One arrives at an age when trying to understand the complexity of life is something very sobering, and we question what or if reason makes sense. Once again, I recall an amazing, colorful time in the fall of October 1953. I was a young bride. Our sister and brother-in-law, Ruth and Bill, brought their beautiful baby boy home. Jordy and I, a joyful uncle and aunt, walked with the Morrisons and baby Craig to his new place right next door to us in a double at 1642 Sheridan Boulevard. We were given the privilege of witnessing our little nephew's joyful beginnings of life. How precious and memorable moments like these are. The baby grew from an infant to a playful child, a good and smart student, a handsome and talented athlete. College and then graduation. In later years, Craig became an investor. As the rabbi said, Adam inherited his father's athleticism. Craig was popular at George Washington High School. Ruth and Bill were always there to give him support as he competed in sports, especially football. He was their only child, and Craig brought joy and excitement into their lives. Craig's large extended family, dear grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, also took pleasure in his achievements. Craig was a devoted son and enjoyed an incredible relationship with his cousins. Craig married and was an adoring father to Adam and to Lindsay, and papa to adorable grandchildren. It was the perfect photo, that image, to capture the look in Craig's eyes when he looked at his Lindsay, an all-American beauty. As our family grew, we traveled with the Morrisons, sharing memorable experiences in business and pleasure. Craig relished going to Auntie Essie's Park, known in Colorado as Estes Park, where we picnicked and played games. One special trip was to the World's Fair in New York City. The Big Apple didn't stop the cousins from antics the kids brought from the Mile High City. Lisa, Jay, and Craig had their share of pillow fights in the Waldorf Astoria and up and down the Grand Hotel's elevators. Somehow we weren't evicted. 10 of us managed the subways, Michigas, going to and from the New York Fairgrounds. One kid, who shall remain nameless, wandered, then made his own way from Grand Central Station back to the hotel. Craig had a wonderful sense of humor. He told fun stories, and this special trait was helpful when mishaps occurred. Craig was a pal to man's best friends. Popo, his first pup, received special homemade food and was the cleanest dog in Denver. Craig was required to wash Popo's paws when he came indoors. Despite Ruth's warning, she was an immaculate housekeeper. Craig shared his bed with Popo. Missing his master now is Elvis, who had a special place in Craig's heart. Craig loved sports. He supported organizations that specialized in kids' sports. He was a sensitive but tough coach and an inspirational mentor. These memories warm my heart. Several individuals responded to me these past 2 days, expressing their sympathy and spoke of Craig's generosity and philanthropy. Every journey in one's life is a deeply personal one. We embark together, but we need not to be reminded that there is no one who has lived their life so righteously they do not need forgiveness. Craig was critically ill for many years and fought valiantly to get well. He was appreciative of the wonderful medical care he received, the very spirit of the person he was. Craig conveyed his love to each family member in an intentional way. He showed his genuine personality with authentic words and gestures. These past too few years for Janet and Craig were a miracle. Janet gave Craig happiness, love, tender care, and added quality to his life. They were cherished times, but way too short. Lindsay, Colin, their 3 beautiful daughters, and dear Adam, who had a very special father-son relationship. I pray for all of you to have strength and good health necessary to get through these trying times. You were Craig's pride and joy. When you are young, one looks to the future. When arriving at a significant age, the process takes you back to the past. In 1953, I didn't dream that I would be the matriarch of a family and bidding my nephew goodbye. When this service is concluded, I will embark on a final ride with my nephew to Rose Hill Cemetery, where he will join his beloved parents.
By the way, I am the one she was referring to that left the hotel and decided to check out New York City on my own. Craig was like my big brother. He was 3.5 years older, and our families were more than close. As I grew up in Aunt Rue and Uncle Bill's home, I wanted to be like Craig from a very young age. Craig always set the bar high for me, from the friends that he made, to the athlete he became, to the cars that he drove, to the girls that followed him. The thing about it was that even though I was a pain in his side, he spent so much time with me, teaching me to throw a perfect spiral, perfecting my jump shot, or toting me around on his handlebars, and always including me with the older guys. He was my hero. I vividly remember my dad, a blessed memory, and Craig dueling it out at Indian leg wrestling. Uncle Jordan usually won. My dad took me to all his football games at George Washington, and I watched him play at a state championship level. And then when Craig left for college, I remember crying like a baby when he took me off to Pomona College, when he took off to Pomona College in California. So Uncle Bill took me on a flight to watch him play, and he did not disappoint, as he ran for over 100 yards that game and close to 1,000 yards that season. In our adult lives, both Craig's family and my family lived 4 houses apart, and there were many escapades. Our cousin Ronnie remembered the time that Craig and I met up with Ronnie in Cleveland in 1987 because we scored tickets for what turned out to be the John Elway AFC Championship drive game. I called it the night I spent 2 weeks in Cleveland. There were so many trips and stories to count. On a trip to Las Vegas with our wives, Craig called me Squeaky Cheeks for buying a small stuffed lion to bring home for my daughter Kyle, because he wanted me to buy the life-size version, and the next week he had it delivered to our front door. Craig was as tough as they came. He kind of taught me how to defend myself. He was as tough as they came, but at the same time, the sweetest as well. Beyond generous, he would literally give you the shirt off his back. Lisa, Janet, Craig, and I had dinner this past spring, and I remember something he said when speaking about Janet. He said, "It took me a while, but I found the love of my life." He was so proud of his children, Jody, Adam, Lindsay, and Colin. He especially loved spending time with his beautiful grandchildren. I can tell you that he loved every one of his cousins, aunts, and uncles. We always exchanged birthday calls. This past Monday was not any different. As I called him on his 69th birthday, "How are you doing?" I said. "Okay," he said. "How was your birthday?" "I spent a good part of it at the hospital, but I'll get it figured out." "Let's get together for dinner," he said. Of course, I said. He was always positive and never really let you know how hard it was for him. He was so tough. He told me about his grandchildren. I told him about mine. Love you, he said, to which I replied, love you too. See you soon. You will always be my big brother. Rest in peace. May Craig's memory be for a blessing.
It was 2 years ago, Janet, August 20th, that many of us gathered to witness you and Craig exchanging vows and committing to making new memories and lasting memories. In that short time, you both planned exciting, meaningful trips together with your blended families, dinners and life cycle events held in your home, and a nurturing, loving relationship that just continued to blossom and bloom. Adam, Lindsay, Colin, Ophelia, Emerson, Lane, Kaylee, Chloe, and Araya, you all know that you could do no wrong in his eyes. Sorry. William, Benjamin, Nathaniel, your talks and your love of sports only endeared him more to you guys. This little white dog, Elvis, who could not make it today, was his companion for 7 years, and who I am sure misses him sorely. Janet, we all surround you and hold you close, and thank you for all that you did for Craig. You loved, cared for him, and gave him hope. In every conversation that we had, he always expressed the good fortune of having met you and marrying you, and the wonderment of being together with you. You were his rock, and he loved every minute of his time that the two of you were together. I am sure that Aunt Rue and Uncle Bill are holding him close and smiling down on you, his family, and on all of us gathered to celebrate his life. I'm sure that his grandparents, Bessie, Abe and Dora, and aunts and uncles are online, welcoming him and blessing him for continuing their legacy of charity and kindness that you embodied. There are so many charities that you supported. The lives that you changed with your anonymous gifts and acts of charity is stunning, and I hope those who benefited will bless you forever. Winona Court and Fairfax Street were streets that I remember babysitting you on, babysitting you, not on, but with. I look forward to those times with the exception of the salmon that my aunt always took out of a can that had these little white things. And they were in a red can, and to this day, I don't eat fish from a can. But she would provide them on a plate. They looked like a delicacy. She wanted me to feel good about it. The other thing that you may not know is that my folks gave him my Schwinn Chrome bicycle that I loved. That was Uncle Jordan's. And he left it at the ball field when he was practicing, never to be seen again. I was a little unhappy, but we got over it. I will miss our calls and dinners and the endless stories that you cemented that cemented us as cousins and friends. You're never tired of showing pictures of all your kids and grandchildren and your amazement of being a great grandparent at your tender age. You always made everyone smile with those pictures. All your cousins join with me in expressing our sorrow on your passing, but we are thankful that you are not suffering any longer. With your wide circle of friends and coaching that you did, I am sure we will hear more stories about all that you accomplished in your life and how you made a difference in their lives. Craigle, as your mother would call you, a blessing that was written by my partner, Greg, and that you read many times on many occasions, reminds us what is important. Let me repeat that blessing. Unfortunately, it's all too easy to race through and waste our day-to-day existence with what we are truly victimized by our obsessions with what we have lost and what we can't and what we don't have, or that which is beyond our reach. The genuine tragedy is that we lose sight of and appreciation for the endless gifts that we receive in our lives. To be able to stop for a moment every day and assess and give thanks for all that we do have is truly a blessing. Give thanks not only for the material gains, accomplishments, comforts, and tangible benefits, but remember above all else to show gratitude for and to the people we share them with. You see, life is a journey, and like any great trip, it's made a little sweeter, a little gentler, and a little richer by the people we travel with. So when you lay yourself down to sleep at night, remember to say thank you for the truest and greatest blessings in your life, the people you share it with, your family and friends. Rest in peace, and I love you.
I'd like to announce that visitors for the family are welcome to, oh, I'm sorry, Ian. Yeah, Ian.
Thank you for your patience. I know you've listened to a lot of eulogies, but all of us wanted to give Craig our love, so I promise you this is the last one. As many of you in this room know, Craig Morrison and I have been friends for over 45 years. More than friends, actually. We were like brothers. So it is difficult to summarize how much I loved and respected Craig and how much he meant to me in only a few minutes. I will start at the beginning. 47 years ago, I was blessed to receive a call from local renowned CPA Irving Kipper, asking me to associate with him and assist with servicing his many esteemed clients. One of his clients was Perlmac, a company formed and owned by Jordan Perlmutter, Samuel Primack, and William Morrison. I was excited to work with them because Perlmac was among the royalty of Denver real estate at the time. My life significantly changed for the better after our association. I became more than family accountant and friend. I became a member of the family. When I think back to the beginning of my friendship with Craig, as well as the rest of the family, I think about the popular Broadway musical Hamilton. There is a song in the show called "In the Room Where It Happened." In this show-stopping song, Aaron Burr laments that he was not in the room where it happened the historic night Hamilton and Jefferson agreed to compromise, leading to the birth of the United States of America. I think of this Hamilton scene because 45 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be in the room where it happened. You see, I had just moved into my house on Exposition with my first wife, Marcia, and our one-year-old daughter, Hillary. Into the living room came Jay Perlmutter, who had just graduated from college in Scottsdale, Arizona, and his cousin, Craig Morrison. They were very excited to invest in their first venture together, and right there, in my modest living room, they created a partnership called P&M Venture to co-invest in a condominium in Scottsdale. What the three of us lacked in experience and maturity was more than compensated for by drive, desire, and passion. This beginning investment, born from being in the room where it happened, blossomed into many future business ventures together, some very successful and some not as successful. However, we have spent 45 years consistently doing business and transactions together. And there has always been honesty, transparency, open communication, and most important, mutual respect and love. Love. To know Craig was to love him. He led a simple life with his main concerns being the welfare of his wife, children, and grandchildren, and the Broncos. He loved sports, and nothing made him happier than watching Adam pitch to victory the team he coached to win the Little League World Series, or most recently, watching his stepson Benny playing football as a fantastic offensive lineman. 7 years ago, Craig went through a relatively difficult period in his time. He had just survived a significant life-threatening health scare, as well as a divorce from his wife of over 30 years. In the depth of his depression and wanting to recalibrate his life, he acquired Elvis, his loving and loyal dog. As it so happens, a few years before this, I needed to recalibrate my life too, after having lost my first wife of 31 years to cancer. Shortly after, I rediscovered love when I met and married my soulmate Anat. I forecasted to Craig that his life could come to be as blessed and joyful as mine. I do not have the gift of prophecy, but my prophetic vision to Craig came true. After his divorce, through fate or Carla Bartel, depending on how you look at it, Craig was introduced to a soulmate, Janet, who made the last 7 years the best years of his life. It is true that their time together was way too short. But thank God, Craig's life was elevated and uplifted by the 7 magical years they had together, epitomized by their moving marriage ceremony conducted by Craig's older cousin and dear friend Leland Rudofsky. Janet, as you know, when you married Craig, supposedly an only child, you married into an unbelievable family of friends and support that will continue to be there for you throughout your life. Those of you who know me know that I always find a connection between life's experiences and the Parsha HaShavua, the weekly Torah reading. In this week's Parshas Noach, I did not have to look too hard for inspiration. It was there in the opening statement. Noach ish tzaddik, tamim haya b'dorotav. Noah was a righteous man who lived a complete and simple life. While reading the Parsha Noach, I had a wonderful discovery. If we substitute Craig for Noah, we have God's description of Craig. Craig was a righteous man. Through the inspiration and role modeling of his parents, Craig and his family have been consistent and vital charitable supporters to the Jewish and general community. Craig was a person content with his life, unaffected by status symbols and buying possessions for his own ego. He was bright but humble, intuitive but not overbearing. I would also like to add that Craig was a progressive visionary, smoking weed many years before it was legalized. Craig really was like Noah. He saw a society where his family needed safety. He was always the captain of the ship, building an ark of security to protect his family from the difficulties of life. Jay and I were there 45 years ago in this room where it happened, and we pledge to continue to watch over and protect Craig's family as our brother would expect from us. May the memories we collectively share of all these meaningful and good times we spent together with Craig offer us all consolation and healing on this difficult day when Craig is finally laid to rest. Amen.
Thank you, Ian, and members of the family. The family would like me to announce that visitors are welcome to come after the cemetery to Janet and Craig's home, 1040 South Monroe Street. You probably have it in your handouts. They'll be receiving visitors after the cemetery until 3:30 p.m. As Shabbat comes early now. And on Sunday from 2 to 6 p.m. and services will be held there at 5 p.m. I'd like to ask everyone please to rise for the mourners for the El Malei Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim Shochen B'Meromim Hamtzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת חיים שמעון בן זב ורחל שהלך לעולמו. בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתו, ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. הוא צרור, בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
Amalei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Craig Morrison, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace, and let us say amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our service here at the Hebrew Educational Alliance. We'll have interment at Rose Hill Cemetery. We do have an escorted procession today, so if you'd like to join us at the cemetery, we'll ask you to return to your cars as quickly as possible. Please don't delay in the foyer. Please return to your cars, have your hazards on, and you're welcome to pull out of the lot and start lining up going northbound on Ivanhoe Street towards Hamden. You're welcome to start lining up as soon as you can. If you're not going to the cemetery, if we can ask you to give way to those who are, and maybe ask you to use one block to the west is Holly Street. So we're going to use Ivanhoe. If you'll go down to Holly Street, that would be helpful for the escorts and for the family in getting to the cemetery. We'll ask everyone to remain in your places as we escort the family and the casket out. If you happen to run into the family in the restroom, if you'll please allow them to do whatever they need to do so they can get back to the car so they can make their way to the cemetery. You can express their condolences later at their home. At this time, I invite the pallbearers to come forward.